Welcome back, everybody, to the Star Wars podcast, where we talk all things Marvel, Star Wars, and everything in between. Please take a moment to check our show notes to find our social media, merch, and more. Today, we are recapping the finale of Secret Invasion titled Home. And guys, I'm sorry, last week I wasn't here. But now Tommy's not here this week, but it's okay. It's a good thing. You get fun Uncle Michael back. He's bringing the fun sound clips back.
Daddy, when are we filming, Daddy? Come on, Daddy.
You have nothing to worry about. You're in great hands here because we do have an incredible guest as well as our good buddy, great friend of the podcast, Joshua Spitzer. Joshua, how's it going?
It's great. I just went on a nice venture out in space for a few years, and I came back there and decided that I was just old and weak now. So I don't really know what happened between then and now, but here I am.
You just step through. You're servicing whatever the character needs you to be at any given time.
Absolutely.
Joshua, how's everything going in your life? Screw Secret Invasion. Are you doing good?
I've been doing pretty good. I think since the last time I was here, I did Real Foot again, which was a great experience. I think it was better than the last year that I did it. And honestly, I've been having a great life. It's nothing really has changed though.
Awesome. Yeah, no, you did great in Real Foot. So
Thank
if anybody knows what that is, shout out to you. Okay, but all right, let's get down to it because this is the thing. Tommy brought his guests on last week when I was busy, and now I'm bringing my guests on. But his guests last week, they hated this show. They made fun of it left and right. And had I been there, I would have put them in their place. But because I love this show, that's my personal opinion. I'll only fight you a little bit if you agree with them. But where do you stand now that we step back? We get the full vision of Secret Invasion. How do you feel about it?
I enjoyed it as a show, but I think it was disappointing a little bit. I think it had the potential to be a fantastic thing, but what they did is they took such a huge event in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and they crammed it into 30-minute episodes of 6 episodes, right? It's kind of like a shortened season of Survivor where we just didn't get to see everything go on, right? We know it happens. We know what happens at the end, but we don't really get all the key parts that we need. So I'm satisfied with it, but I think it could have been a lot better.
And I feel like this is the thing that I run into a lot, especially against Tommy, who's just a big comic book fan, where he's like, things like, oh, Civil War isn't what the comics were, or Taskmaster deserved way more, like stuff like that like I didn't really experience as a comic book person. Like for me, I'm like, yeah, this was a big event in the comics, but this was what it was here, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
So,
and understandable, and I think that there's definitely some merit to that, just because they are trying to reach to new audiences, right? So, in introducing smaller events and trying to get them to draw in, I think this is a good show for people to jump in on.
Yeah. And I talk about this a lot, off the podcast, like, because, I like to rank things. I like to rank my favorite movies of the year. I like to rank my favorite TV shows. And the thing is, Marvel shows are always at the bottom of my favorite TV shows. But then I come on here and I'm like, oh, it's so much fun. But I think the big thing is also in comparison to a lot of things that we've gotten, I felt like this is kind of what I needed from Marvel at the time. Something darker, like, we watched Rhodey get shot in the head. Like, it's just something you don't really see.
Not just Rhodey, so many like public figures. I mean, we watched a slaughter today, and that was honestly pretty great to watch. That the MCU is willing to do that, and it gives me hope for future shows like Daredevil and whatever else they're throwing at us.
Yeah. Show us your balls, Disney. Okay, well, we'll dive into the episode here, and I gotta say again up top, I'm going to just cherish and absolutely boast this episode because I really did enjoy it. But we open on a conversation with him and Vara, and Vara's basically like, you can come back home. and he's like not having it. He's the worst at like BSing her because like she'll ask a question and like he just says something else. He just changes the subject. So it definitely seems like, Fury's really done here with Vara. I think we later find out that's not the case. But Josh, where do you like this Vara situation? Are you pro? Do you ship this?
I think it's one of those couples that just probably don't need to be around each other that long. But once they're out in the house and they come back, it's a nice little time. But is it toxic? Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I'm against this. I don't. What's the ship name? Vuri, or Nara? I don't know. Anyway, I just it's always seemed like Nick has never really liked her. Kind of like when I said when he's like always dodging questions, or he's just very non-committal. And then also like, dude, she tried to kill you like very recently. Like, I don't know. It just it's not for
She
me.
tried to kill him, and he hasn't said a word about her in the past however many years they've been dating, married, whatever it is. It's kind of like, what are you hiding, Nick? And what's going on?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So I don't know. It is what it is. But as of right now, he's like, I got to keep doing what I'm doing. And this is where we get back to him. He's breaking into New Scrollos. We see a car approaching, and these dumb guards are just like open fire on it immediately. Nick Fury comes out, takes him out. I'm gonna be saying Fury, but I think this is not Fury at this moment. There's a big twist to come where we find out that this is actually Gaia. Did you see this coming in any way? The Gaia twist?
no, I think they played it off very well, and I was very happy that they ended up doing like that because obviously we had Gaia come back in the series, and I almost thought she was lost in that first half of the episode. And that's kind of like, where's Gaia? She's obviously an integral part of this show. We haven't seen her for the first half, and it made sense after that, right? Because they had Sonya going down into the hospital. That was just a lure to try to get us away. Don't think about Fury and everything. I think it was a great twist.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really like this. I felt like there wasn't a whole lot in the episode that would make me think like, oh, that's not Nick Fury. I think she did a good job of playing the role of Nick Fury at least. But I just thought this was a really well played twist. And like you said, like a lot of times, especially in these Marvel shows, like towards the end, it's like, oh, what's this character doing, or what's going on here? Like, the villain's motivation doesn't make sense. But I felt like this episode really serviced the characters really well in that way, where and Gaia in a very big way. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and absolutely, Gaia was putting on a performance of a lifetime there. I mean, obviously, with cameras all around, she had to put up a performance because she didn't know who was watching and how long they had been watching.
Yeah. Yep. So we will go back here to the president and Rhodey. And Rhodey is like his full scroll form at this point because he's not even hiding it. Like I don't even know like if you did this in real life, I think they would like jail Rhodey immediately because he's like yelling at the president. He said, "I already wrote your speech. You have to do this now." This poor woman, he said, "Did you take a stupid pill this morning?" Like he's just so mustache twirly right now. What do you think about well, we've been calling him Scrody.
Scrody. That's great. I love that. I think President Ritson absolutely loves having this type of person on his cabinet or whatever distinction Rhodey has at this point, because it seems like Ritson is not a good person as well. So it probably feeds into his personality a lot. But as far as, yeah, it's full on not Rhodey right now, and how nobody noticed this, it's beyond me.
Yeah, he's just he's an absolute jerk. He's trying to start like a war in like a second, which also like makes me wonder like, do you like get how wars work? Like I don't know, like I don't know that like it would take a lot more to like have the USA just, I mean, they barely did anything, and then there's like no proof really, so it's wild to me.
Right.
Uh, all right, so next here we get yeah, he's sneaking into Scrollos and we see him taking pills. He's having this negative reaction to the radiation. So here's my thing. So we know that the scrolls have are immune to this radiation, which is why they live here. So you're telling me Gaia has like she's faking this like the shaky like he's about to die aspect of this character. Like that's a lot for me to understand and tackle here.
I I love it because in the moment, like when you see him pull out the radiation thermometer, whatever it's called, he looks at it, and then at the next scene is him like fumbling around, like you just told a kid that you gave them alcohol, but it was just a glass of apple juice, and they're just like, "Oh, I'm so drunk," right? And it was just funny thinking about that after the fact, right? And I think that just goes into the overperforming, right? She doesn't know who's watching. She has to do this because you never know who's going to pop out of nowhere. But
Well
it
said.
is a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point because that was my big thing was like she's like when Nick is by himself and shaky, I'm like, okay, that really really selling us here. But yeah, no, that makes sense. She's fully immersed, and I appreciate that. Um, yeah. So next year, this is where Sonia starts coming into the episode, and Sonia calls Rhodey and is like, "Fury's coming," and she's not lying. I think at this point in the episode, I was thinking like, "Oh yeah, she's trying to freak him out or whatever," but no, Sonia's right. Nick is coming,
Hmm.
which is not something
I
you want
think
to
they
hear.
just want to. No, absolutely not. If you have Nick Fury coming after you, that's not a good thing. But I think, and this is where I think about it, is she trying to work with Nick? Is she trying to work with the U.S. or is she just trying to make her own benefits? And how does this benefit her having both those two? And it's just that they're going to be worrying about each other, and nobody's going to be worrying about Sonya. It's classic Survivor strategy where you have two people going after each other, and you just sit back and let them fight, right? You fall into the shadows, and
Yeah.
I think that's a great strategy for Sonya, right?
Yeah, no, well said. She's definitely playing the game here. My thought was like, I think she just really, 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 really hates scrolls. Like she just like because that's been her like she is just her whole thing is like, every time she sees somebody, she like shoots them in the leg and they turn into a scroll. Like she's just no chill
Mhm.
and she wants all the scrolls out. That's seems like a big motivating factor at least.
Probably.
Yeah. Um So next year we get Fury, who is meeting up with Gravik, and Gravik is being a jerk this whole time. He's like, Gravik is also like kind of like playground bully here. Smacks the pills out of his hand and kicks them down the drain. Um, what did you think about? Well, I guess we could talk like overall. Has Gravik worked for you as a villain?
I think he has in this short run, and it's because he is this flawed, being, right? He's trying to save his own race, save his own people, but he's doing it in such a nefarious way because the old way didn't work, and so he wanted to try something new. But now he's let his anger take over him. His chaos and really just wanting to drive home not only that he is saving his people, but he's putting his foot down to Nick Fury, right? And I think that's another reason why Gaia really had to sell it because if she's putting on this front that Nick Fury's at his weakest under Gravik's control, under Gravik's foot, he's going to feel so powerful and unstoppable. And that'll really throw a curveball at him once he finds out it wasn't him. And then he's going to be even more furious, which is going to stray him from making good decisions.
Yeah, Nick Furious, if you will. Um, Sorry, that was too easy. No, I really do like Gravik. I thought his performance specifically in this episode and the conversations that are coming up here between him and Nick, I thought were really really great. I think he's a really great actor. Ben Aladir or something. He was
Yeah.
recently in the Barbie movie. But this guy is kind of up and coming right now, and I really appreciate his character. I think the one thing is like he's always like going a step too far, like where I'm
Mhm.
like, I get you, dude. I get that you're upset. But like, do you have to like genocide an entire race of people? Like, it's a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And I again, like you said, I think he's doing an absolutely great acting job as far as the actor himself. And then the performance of calling back to the Heath Ledger moment, the Joker, when he says, "Look at me," and he's like, "Pull it up." And I mean, it's just fantastic. It's fantastic. I love it.
Um, and like he makes Samuel Jackson scared. Like if you watch him in the scene, like Samuel
Mhm.
Jackson, like you don't see Samuel Jackson like play that emotion very often. Like usually he's
Yeah.
the man with the plan, but like he looks very freaked out talking to Gravik.
Mm. And I love that that's just a little nuance because it isn't Nick Fury in this moment. So Samuel Jackson gets to be a different person and he gets to play something other than what his typical role is. And that's really nice. And then in that same scene, they have this quote that he says. It's something like, easier to save the lives of 8 billion people rather than change their views, right? And that is Gaia speaking from the heart, and it's really like an impactful moment once you realize it wasn't Nick Fury, it was Gaia saying that, and it's like, oh, so this is also how she sees.
Yeah. No, I love those parallels between these characters here. So um let's see. So, any standouts from some of the stuff they talked about? You talked about the head grabbing scene. He's blaming Fury for everything. Um, Also, I really liked this line, but now that I know Gaia said it, I don't know that it means as much. But he said that the last thing he felt before being dusted was relief. And I don't know, maybe she just understands Nick a little bit more, and maybe that thinks that's something he would have said. But I thought that was really spot on.
I I thought it was a little contradictory from when we saw him get dusted because we got to see him get dusted. And he go, motherfucker, right? Like he looks so
Yeah.
mad that he's getting taken away. So I don't know if that's just what he or what she wanted him to believe, or maybe she does have some connection with Nick Fury now.
Yeah. No, well said. That's yeah, I guess what do you think about that that final scene? I don't know that that's how I would describe it. So there you go. Um so explain. All right, I'm gonna get you to explain this to me because I'm a little confused. This might be something that I would consider a complaint because it seems really brushed over. Where did that? How did he get everyone's DNA? Because that's something that comes up here. Basically, what he's doing is he's saying, "I will give you all of the powers if you leave." And where did he get all of the powers?
It's probably just samples from different battlefields that they've had. So, like when they're going up against Thanos, somebody has to go up and clean that, right? And I'm sure Nick Fury's out there at some point after the fact, taking up blood samples, just seeing what it is. Hopefully, it leads to something. And just having worked with all kinds of the Avengers over the years and all these characters, you find bits and pieces of people.
I just imagine him out there with like a Q-tip and a plastic bag with some gloves. He's like picking, yeah, like oh, here's Black Widow's hair or whatever. Uh, yeah,
I
but
think the bigger question for me in this moment is how is it all in one vial? How is it all one liquid and it has all the separate DNA? Like, is that really possible?
yeah, it's a there's some comic book science here. I imagine it's kind of like because we see on the computer screen some of the powers in the beginning of the season. I imagine it's like
Mm.
they have the database of all the stuff, and you can like go through and like select which ones you want. Yeah, so you like kind of
You're
make your
equipping
own
them.
superhero cocktail. So,
Yeah. And I like
uh,
the detail that they didn't include anybody that had like mystical powers or whatever, anything that was like not genetically them, right? So you don't have your Doctor Strange or your Black Wit or sorry, Scarlet Witch in there because
yeah,
those aren't their blood related. It's more of a different factor involving them. So it's just a nice touch that they didn't include anything like.
yeah, for sure. Um, so, yeah, sorry. I'm trying to find out where we
You're
were.
good.
Okay, yeah. The Secret Service. Okay, this is interesting. So people are dying in the hospital, right? Um, and then the president says, "I need a gun." And then the Secret Service, what do you think they do that? Is this how this works? Would the Secret Service give the president a gun in this situation? I don't think so, but maybe I'm wrong.
There was such a better way they could have done that, and I just think having the president, I think that speaks a lot about how they want us to view the president more so than they do, um, the actual scene being accurate. Because they could have easily just had the guard get shot drop his gun into his lap and then he picks it up as self-defense. But the fact that he's asking for a gun, saying, I want to protect myself, I don't trust anybody else, that's how we should be seeing him right now. And I think that's leading, everything that President Winston does is leading to his demise at some point. So I'm excited to see when and where that happens and how.
Yeah, I'm shocked that like I would have bet so much money that the president would be dead or a scroll by the end of this, and the fact that
Yeah,
I think that's something we might have to deal with in like Captain America coming up. So we'll see.
probably.
Um, Alrighty, so yeah, so there's a lot of different stuff going on here. We get it shows like the army dude getting in his Humvee with like the classified document, symbolizing them about to go to war, I guess. Um, we're cutting back and forth a lot too. So we also get Gravik who's like testing the DNA. Sonya also corners Rhodey at this point. But I think the next big thing is when they are in like the Superdome and they both become super skulls. So super skulls here. Yeah, so I guess that was the only way to defeat Gravik though, was like, all right, well, if you're doing this, I gotta do it too, because one of us are walking out of here and I don't want it to be me.
Right, absolutely. And like something deep inside me, because it wasn't really revealed until that moment where he grabs the hand, right? That it wasn't Nick Fury, but something didn't sit right in those leading seconds up to it. And I guess this is a nitpick for me, but it's just like, is this really how you're going to have Nick Fury end? And I know Tommy's not a trailer person, and but there was scenes of Nick Fury in another trailer, so we knew it wasn't going to be happening. But it's just kind of a problem where it's like, this isn't how it goes. You don't have the right build up. You don't have the, and so some of the magic was tainted there, but not all of it. Yeah.
Oh, this has been a problem for me back since Infinity War. My biggest complaint was the cliffhanger, because I was like, it just felt so dumb, because we know that it's all going to be reversed in the next movie. I've come
Mhm.
around on it a little bit after the fact, but for a long time, I was like, I just like the ending spoiled Infinity War for me, where I was like, okay, well, there's a new Black Panther, there's a new Guardians. Like, we know these people are fine. So, um, it's something that happens all the time where like you just know for instance, we know Rhodey has the Armor Wars. I don't know if it's a show or
Yep.
movie. I think it got turned into what anyways. We know
Sounds
that's
like it.
coming up. So I'm like, the entire time, yeah, I know we're dealing with Scrody here, but I know real Rhodey is alive somewhere. So it's always
Right.
stuff like that like, very meta stuff that really break the realism of the show. So
And it's just all part of marketing. They have to do it, but it's annoying that they don't do it. Like, I mean, back when, like, not years ago, like maybe 10 years ago, they would just show like a small clip of something and get people absolutely hyped for something, right? You didn't have to
mm,
show 7 minutes of the movie.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, so this is where they really start to fight, and we also get the reveal that it is actually Gaia here. But this leads to a really awesome fight scene, Super Skull fight scene, which I absolutely loved. This, the CGI was really great for me. I didn't really have any problems with that. It was a lot of fun seeing all the different powers. I guess we can kind of go through that. But what did you think of? What did you think of this fight?
I agree. I think it was a good fight. It was very well put together and organized, and the way that they portray, kind of like I was talking about earlier, where Gravik is really just trying to brew this, and where they pull out, tap his forehead, make him sleep, and then using the ghost powers to phase in and out of the stuff he's throwing at her. So I think it was just a good display of who's really in control in this moment. And it's really cool just to see all the powers come back. We all know that. And the CGI, I think it turned out good. I think it was actually pretty good. And I think the reason people nitpick CGI is because we have a pause button, right? If you can pause a movie and take every frame, people are going to nitpick it to hell. I think in motion, the CGI looked really good. Can you hear me? Oh, you're on mute. Never mind.
Yeah. Hey, you were lagging through like all of that answer basically.
Okay.
I don't- I might get you to try to leave and come back because something very weird's happening on my end. Can you try to do that?
Yeah, I see video going in and off as well. Yeah, I'll do that real quick.
Okay.
Let me try again. Hello?
Okay. You look better. You sound better.
Okay,
Um,
sorry. I'm going off of data, so I know that's
okay.
probably not great right.
No, no, you're fine. Just that one, that was like spit. Like I didn't like the first half of everything he said. I didn't hear, but yeah, just go ahead and pick back up and tell me what you thought of the scroll fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a great fight and it was well choreographed and everything like that. And I think it was a great display of who was really in charge in that moment. You see Gravik really punching and throwing all the heavy hits and going at her full force with all his power, but he wasn't using the right techniques, the right brains, right? And we see Gaia. She's having rubble thrown at her. She uses the ghost powers and phases away from it. She then uses Mantis and makes him fall asleep, makes him fall down, and so it really shows the difference between how they are both fighting the war and each other is that she is using more of her brains and he's using more bronze. And we usually know how that goes.
Yeah, no, she definitely seemed more focus in all of this and more pointed with how she was using these powers. Um, this shot of her at the end, where we've seen it a million times with Carol Danvers, but Amelia Clark looks like such a badass as like a
Oh,
Marvel, quote unquote.
mhm.
So that was probably my favorite moment. Do you think we'll get Amelia Clark in the Marvels?
I don't think so. I At this point, I'm kind of hoping not as well because it's kind of like oversaturating it almost. Especially if she has the exact same powers as all of them, that makes it a little bit of a problem. But then the same thing is if she has the same powers, does that mean that she's going to be connected in the same way that they are right now? So it's kind of a conundrum that's going to have to be explained coming up. Is her power situation going to get resolved or revert back to what she normally was before this movie happens? We don't. And that's kind of one of my smaller complaints about it is now Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, was supposed to be the most powerful person in the MCU, but now we have Gaia who has her powers and everybody else's powers. What does this mean for the Marvel universe?
Well, that's the thing. It's like they've had to go through so many loopholes to explain why Carol Danvers doesn't help Earth, right? They're like, oh, she's saving
Mhm.
other planets. She's like, they go out of their way to make it make sense. And like, this just makes it much harder. I think they can probably get away with being like, Gaia doesn't want to be a superhero. That's my best guess is like, she didn't
Yeah,
sign up for this. So I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be
right.
wild.
And that also raises the question for me is who's going to stop Gaia if she ever decides to go against anybody? Because if she's teaming up with fast forward to later in the episode, if she's teaming up with Sonya, so what is that going to mean for anybody that's in Sonya's way, right? Is this where we have that almost pseudo Fantastic Four that's supposed to be coming up go against this version of a Super Scroll? I don't know.
Yeah, no. So the we've really opened a can of worms here, and we'll see if they'll
Ugh,
be able to put it all back together. So,
yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, still really love this fight. I thought she just like shot a hole through him, which is like I don't know. It's just it was just I couldn't believe what I was watching. I couldn't believe, and I think that's the thing. Talking about Marvel finales is like usually I'm like, oh, that was really underwhelming or predictable or ugly, and like for
Mhm.
me, I didn't see this coming. It was exciting, and yeah, just absolutely all about this.
Yeah, I love the series, and it doesn't feel like a Marvel show, and I think that's why I like it as a Marvel show. Because I feel like this is kind of what Falcon and Winter Soldier should have been, the tone that it should have been, and it just wasn't.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go back to Fury at the hospital here, and they kind of find themselves in a corner here with the president in the bed with a gun, and they're having like the whole he's fake, or that the meme that's that motherfucker back there is not real. This was giving me that. Um, but yeah, so this is where Fury ends up shooting Scrody, and yeah, what did you think about this part of the hospital scene?
I mean, this is just a weird scene in general because a Rhodey is trying to protect his identity as a scroll, but immediately tries and grabs a gun, right, and tries to steal it, completely outing himself. And I don't remember whose gun he tried grabbing. Was it Sonya's or was it the president's? I think it was Sonya's. If it was Sonya's, then why didn't the president shoot Nick Fury after that? I know he had his hesitations, but um, I don't know. Some questions that I haven't unanswered there.
Yeah, because that's the thing. He had like a dart gun. That's what he came in with.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Uh, yeah. So we also this is a we jump back over to Gaia, who is like waking up all the kidnapped people. This is where we get the real Rhodey back. Uh, Josh, did we get it? Is there anything in this episode that gives us an inkling of when Rhodey was probably replaced, or do you have an opinion on that?
So so when we get to Rhodey, right, when he's actually in his scrubs, whatever, and he's coming out of this pod, the scrubs could be a callback, and obviously people go to the hospital more than just one time in their MCU career. But the last time we saw Rhodey in scrubs was after, oh gosh, what was it? Civil War. Because when he had his little attack in his suit and he was paralyzed from the bottom, that's why you see him having such a hard time walking afterwards, I believe. And that's why we have the guards carrying him out. It's because his legs are still not functioning properly. Um, uh, I have some more questions about those pod chambers and how protective they are because we have to remember they are on a nuclear power plant, an unfunctioning one that is still radioactive. So how radioactive are these people now? Especially if Rhodey has been sitting there for presumably over 5 years because he's missed an entire blip. He missed Endgame. He missed everything after that. If this is the case, so how radioactive is he right now? Is he the next super mutant?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think he's got new powers. Like this is a good deal for Rhodey. Um, no, yeah. Again, this like, I think this is a problem we have with a lot of the Marvel movies. Is like, what what does all of this really mean for the future? And there's a lot of questions remaining, but they will come back with some like half-witted line to get away from this. So, I'll accept it for now. Um, so
Right.
another, let's
We'll
see,
wait.
I might be a little out of order here, but what about this montage of the president on the newscast saying, basically kill all the scrolls, get the like it basically starts a scroll war here, and we see some of the aftermath of this where people are starting to just kill random people because they think they're scrolls. Like it seems to have really like affected everybody in a big way. What did you think about like this concept of like I kind of feel like this is how things would go. This felt like realistic to me in like the USA.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think this calls back to one of our last great attacks in 2001, where a certain group attacked a certain area of the United States. And not only did that one group in that one area get blamed, but an entire area, an entire nation, an entire part of a continent got blamed for the actions of a very small group. And so when we see President Ritson come on the TV screen, not only does he say a war against scrolls, fighting scrolls, but it's all like non-humans. I don't remember the exact word he uses, but he doesn't say scroll. He says all alien forms or something like that, extraterrestrial forms. So not only is he inviting this technically against the scrolls, but he's going against the Asgardians, anybody that was a part of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And it's a very dumb move and a very um, um, bad look for this president. Again, it's one of those things where it's just setting up a bad election year for upcoming election, or even an assassination attempt, whatever it may be.
Yeah, this president is unhinged for sure, but definitely jumping to like the worst case scenario here, which is believable as well. So, um, let's see here. Next here, we kind of mentioned it. Sonia
Oh,
is going to
absolutely.
yeah, Sonia is going to recruit Gaia, and they're basically going to she's gonna be defending her people. And I think this is a really cool way to end things because it tells me number one that Sonia will still be around, which I haven't mentioned much in this finale, is one of actually probably my favorite character in the show. So, are you excited to see like the Sonya Gaia team up?
Absolutely, and I think this might be calling back to something that comes. I don't remember the exact group, but she does form a group at some point, which is a kind of a very anti-scroll, anti, all these other people group, and I think that's going to be kind of what the workings of this are. We might see them pop up in a future series, especially if they want to go against the United States at some point or start some conflict. But I love this scene. Absolutely. I mean, we have Sonia and Gaia, and Sonia just basically says, "Listen, I don't want to, trick you or anything. I'm going to use of kind of using the psychology against somebody because like they don't want to feel like a win-win for both people, even if it's not the intentions that you have."
Yeah, for sure. And so next year, I hope I'm not skipping anything, but this is kind of like the farewell for Nick Fury. He's going back to Saber. He's done all the things that he needed to do here on Earth. Um, Once again, like just leaving Vara behind a little bit. But
Mhm.
she basically comes up and they find a way for her to come on the ship, which this is like, again, goes back to my whole thing. Like, why, because even now he doesn't necessarily offer for her to come up, and he never
Mhm.
has. So like, why are you married to this woman if like you're just going away? All like, I don't get this. But yeah, I
I
guess they get there
honestly,
happily ever after. Yeah.
I don't know either, honestly, Michael. I haven't gotten to that point yet, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. So and like the whole thing of like, I guess she really wants him to love her and her true self. So she's gonna hang out and be green now. So we get there's an interspecies relationship for you. Um, but
Good for him. Good for them.
there's also a throwaway line that like the Kree are cool with the scrolls now. Like I felt like that we might get more information about that in the Marvels. I don't know, but like it seemed like a very like last moment where like, oh, everything's fine actually because like they can just go hang with the Kree now.
My idea on that is that I think this plot for the Marvels is they're going to go meet the Kree or whatever, and I think there is going to be a divide. It's going to be half the Kree are very willing, and half the Kree are not, and that's why the Kree that are willing to work with the new Skrulls and live together peacefully need the Skrulls' help to take over the other Kree, and I think it'll just be a whole big onslaught power battle again, just like every other Marvel movie.
Yeah, so that is the end of the episode here, but I still have some business to attend to. If you are over on our Instagram, you will know that I put up the Scroll Patrol and I let people guess who they thought in this series would end up being a scroll. First and foremost, Joshua, do you remember what you said? I think I lost you. Oh
I
no.
don't. I remember I chose some. Try again. Hello.
Okay,
So
you're back. Yeah, you're good.
trying my best. It's really getting to it now.
Yeah.
My,
But do
my,
you remember who you picked for Skull Patrol?
I do not. I remember I chose some out there picks at least, or at least a couple of them, but I don't think any of them ended up being right.
No, you said Wong, Sherry, and Bruce, which were bold picks for sure. But unfortunately, you did not win here in the Scroll Patrol. But
Right.
I
That's
do have
okay.
to shout out the people that did. And I guess at the beginning we thought that there would be more scroll reveals, and there really is only one, and the big one is Rhodey. And the people that guessed Rhodey was the Nerd Dose podcast, um, and Why So Sidious podcast, and Luke. So thank you three for playing in the Scroll Patrol. You get I guess bragging rights. I don't know. Is there a prize for that? How do you win? What prize do you get for that?
It's a shape-shifting dollar bill that turns into any currency, but it mostly stays at the bottom.
Oh, awesome. I love that. Okay. Um, Josh, this was so much fun having you. I do want to ask you, because I don't know if Tommy and I are going to do a Barbenheimer podcast. We've talked about it.
Oh,
It may come. I got to ask, though, have you seen either movie?
I have seen one of the two movies, and can you guess which one it is?
I'm going to guess Oppenheimer.
No, I went to see Barbie first. It was great.
Okay.
I loved Barbie. It was fantastic.
Yeah. No, I definitely wanted to get your takes on that for sure, and I think it's a good idea. My biggest mistake was watching them back to back because I saw Oppenheimer and then I went to see Barbie, and about halfway through Barbie, like I was thinking the whole time I was just thinking about like the nuclear death of our planet, it really affected me in a negative way, and I kind of want to see Barbie again with a better mindset, but I really
There
did
you go.
enjoy it as well. So.
Mm. Yeah, I think it was just a great time. I think they represented everything they wanted to very well, and so I was very pleased. I didn't have any expectations going into it because I didn't really know what to expect, and it was great. I had a good time.
Yeah. All right. Well, Joshua, thank you again for doing this. I want to give you the chance to tell people what you're up to online and anything else you want to tell people about.
I'm not doing much. I'm just trying to get my way through college. I'm in my last year, thankfully. So just give me some prayers or whatever you want to give if you do any of that sort of stuff, that I get through that and I make that transition into the real world pretty easily.
Well, good luck. It sucks, the real world.
I know. I've heard. Holding on
Yeah,
to this year.
there you go. All right. Anything else? What do you want to leave a recommendation? Is there anything else that you've watched or seen that you want to leave people with?
Oh, The Chef. The Chef is fantastic. I love
What is
it.
that?
Um, it's a show. I don't even remember what it's on now. I think it's on Hulu, and it's like I don't even know how to describe it. It's just a guy that's a chef, and it's really dramatic, and it's great. I don't know how to
Um,
describe it. I'm sorry.
no, I love it. I love it. I'm trying to think about I've been watching Love Island. That's my
Really?
my
Is that
guilty pleasure.
good?
I love Love Island. I've always been a big Love Island fan, and
Mm.
the US season is back, and it is. I can confirm it's as good as it always is. I love it. It's the thing that I need. They're like it's just manufactured drama, and it's great. So
It's great. You excited for Big Brother to finally be returning? I feel like it's been forever. I feel like it starts usually by
yeah, here's the.
now.
I'll get into Big Brother, but like I'm never excited for Big Brother. If that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. If for me, it's always I'll watch the first week, maybe the first two, and if I don't like it, I
Mhm.
don't watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how you know if I like. I'll finish about a third of the Big Brother season. At some point, I'm gonna fall off. So,
Yep. No, I
um,
agree.
yeah. Alrighty, Joshua. I am going to close this out here. I like to remind everybody to rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify, preferably 5 stars. Also, please subscribe because we're going to be here every single week, and we got some fun stuff because we got a break before Ahsoka comes out. We got about 3 or 4 weeks where we had to get inventive with the podcast, and Tommy and I have some fun ideas. So if you subscribe, they will come straight to your feed. Also, follow us on Instagram at Stark Wars Pod. And if you want to join our little Discord community, which Joshua is very active in, you can hit us up. We will get you in there. It's a fun place to talk about nerdy stuff. So there you go. But that is all we got for you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.